A New Way to Care, Changing Models of Pastoral Care by Matt Cooper. Pastoral care is perhaps the one thing that people most associate with the church, be it in the context of the local parish ministry or even in places of education or work. Expressing care and concern for one another, especially in practical ways, has been part of the Christian faith since it first began. The Gospel of John quotes Jesus as saying, "By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." John 13, verse 35. Traditionally, the minister or priest has been seen primarily fulfilling this pastoral role as part of their duties. In fact, the word pastor, which is derived from the Latin word for shepherd, is often used interchangeably for the role of minister. However, as many churches begin to move away from this minister model of pastoral care to a more sustainable model of employing or of building a team of pastoral workers, and with the increased focus on issues of mental health and well-being within pastoral care, what does this mean in terms of safeguarding and some of the challenges it may bring? Every tradition and culture in the world has its own version of pastoral care to support people as they grapple with the challenges of life. Issues such as identity, motivation, values, grief and loss, loneliness, meaning, relationships, and resilience. One of the responsibilities set out for the clergy is the cure of souls, perhaps better translated as the care of souls or soul care. The principles of good pastoral care can be applied to all faiths and secular organizations, with the provisions of pastoral care becoming a profession in its own right. Increasingly, ordained ministers are being conflicted between their responsibility for the care of souls and the demands of running the church as a complex organization. The responsibility for pastoral care within churches and other Christian organizations has become increasingly devolved. Churches are increasingly developing an every member ministry model of pastoral care, where church members are encouraged to care for one another through small groups and the organic development of Christian friendship. This is an appropriate model which works well much of the time. However, problems can arise when people fall through the gaps because they are not in small groups, or especially in larger churches where they may go unnoticed. Another challenge can be the blurring of boundaries between friendship and pastoral care. People do not always recognize when others have more complex pastoral needs and fail to refer them to those who have specialty skills. What is pastoral care? Pastoral care may involve sustaining others through prolonged difficulty or immediate need, enabling a person's journey of healing and wholeness, supporting someone through the process of reconciliation with God, self, and others, offering guidance about resources, and bringing different perspectives. Who is a pastoral caregiver? A pastoral caregiver is someone who either formally, as part of a pastoral team, group, or network, or informally, as part of their fellowship group or everyday relationships in the community, who offer care and support to another. What are the safeguarding challenges of pastoral care? Perhaps the biggest challenge with pastoral care is the issue of blurred boundaries. People can often act out of good intentions, but lack appropriate support, supervision, and accountability. Many within your organization may be excellent befrienders and carers, but lack the understanding of discernment to know when pastoral needs are complex and the person's needs are complex, and the person needs signposting to further help from clergy or other agencies. When people operate beyond the limits of their own competency, the church ceases to be a safe place for all. Some people feel compelled to care and behave as though they are the sole life support system for everyone. From the outside, they may appear to be living out an exemplary Christian care, but such relationships may not be healthy and may not help people to discover God or grow in their faith during difficult times. Guarding against codependency can be another challenge. Codependency describes a relationship where one person is perpetually needy and the other person is perpetually rescuing. This is an unhealthy combination. The rescuer can often take on the role of the model and cannot cope with the sense of not being needed. The rescuer enables the needy person to become even more dependent, and their condition becomes worse rather than better. Other challenges can include pastoral relationships being confused with personal friendships, romantic attachments developing, visiting people alone in their homes late at night or allowing them to visit the caregiver, inappropriate confidentiality, and the perceived need to be available 24/7. Steps to take. Everyone who is involved in pastoral care needs to be aware that in pastoral relationships, there can be an imbalance of power. Workers need to be aware that they can be exercising power and influence, even without that intention. Your team needs to recognize when pastoral relationships are becoming unhealthy and must be accountable to others. Training should be provided in terms of identifying the signs and indicators of abuse and in ways of working safely. Training teams can be relevantly easy, but developing the understanding of the wider congregation can be a huge challenge. Regular supervision for workers and group leaders is almost regular supervision for workers and group leaders is also important as it allows opportunity to talk and discuss any issues that may have arisen. It is important that anyone seeking pastoral care should know exactly what to expect in terms of good conduct and that any boundaries set are respected at all times. Pastoral relationships at all levels will often run parallel with friendships and social contacts, but it is essential that they always remain distinct. Pastoral workers should be aware of the limits of their own abilities. They should seek further help when dealing with situations outside of their expertise. Recognizing complex pastoral needs and the needs to signpost to others can avoid the creation of dependency. Clear guidelines should be put in place where workers are involved in any aspect of personal finance to ensure financial integrity and accountability. That includes tasks such as supporting with doing shopping for others. The same applies for loan working policies to protect both the worker and the person receiving the support. It's also important to have a system in place for recording incidents and concerns for all activities. Entries should be signed and dated, and sensitive information referenced to other records. Visiting teams should always keep records of visits, that is the date, time, and any concerns. At all times, every effort should be made to ensure that confidentiality is preserved and not shared inappropriately. Although this may well be subject to what may be overriding need to protect someone who has been or is at risk of abuse. Everyone working with adults must be clear that it may not be possible to keep information about suspected or actual abuse confidential. The needs of the person and any potential risks to others. Taking it forward, many churches are caring environments that are well placed to provide a good level of pastoral care. There is a desperate shortage of organizations within local communities who can provide this type of support. With many churches moving from a ministerial to a congregational model of pastoral care, we need to change the culture of expectation that are put upon ministers. This takes time and requires a willingness to embrace change and recruit, support, and train our volunteers well. Unless we do this, ministers will continue to be overloaded and burn out.